Moving a physical product across an international border requires forcing it through an incredibly complex, slow-moving mechanical gauntlet. Every time that container stops, capital bleeds out. Moving goods from a foreign factory to a domestic warehouse triggers sea freight costs, localized storage fees, repackaging labor, and compound import taxes. The major players in global e-commerce rely on two brute force methods to handle this. Companies like Coupang spend billions building hyper-dense local warehouse networks to win on delivery speed. Competitors like AliExpress leverage massive factory direct volume to drive consumer prices down. Both methods require astronomical capital expenditure. They absorb the costs of international friction to protect the consumer, but they do not eliminate the friction itself. The Atomy AZA framework approaches this problem through structural bypass rather than brute force. It combines a cross-border drop-shipping logistics route with centralized offshore bonded zones and powers the network through a profit-sharing consumer incentive. By merging cross-border fulfillment with drop-shipping, the domestic warehouse is removed entirely. Offshore inventory takes a direct path to the end user upon order. Skipping this domestic holding phase legally strips out standard import duties, local VAT, and intermediate fees padding the retail price. By erasing the physical stops in the supply chain, the operational cost drops immediately, converting logistical friction directly into capital leverage. Standard e-commerce logic forces goods to clear customs upon arrival. The moment that inventory crosses the border and enters a domestic facility, the clock starts ticking on high local storage rates, and heavy taxes are applied before a single item is sold. Under the top general trade tier, the base product cost is inflated by import duties, VAT, and retail markups. But looking at the lower AZA band, bypassing domestic entry strips away VAT and markups, guaranteeing a 10 to 40% cost reduction. The physical anchor making this math work is the coastal city of Weihai, China. Weihai processes roughly 70% of all trade between Korea and China. Its infrastructure supports ferries that run like daily commuter buses and flights that connect the logistics hubs in just 48 minutes. Storage costs here run at less than half the rate of domestic equivalents. When inventory is routed from a global supplier into a Weihai bonded warehouse, it sits in a legal state of international transit. The platform pays minimal offshore holding fees. Taxation is deferred until the exact moment a consumer buys the product, at which point it ships directly to them, often falling safely under their personal duty-free limit. A recent shift in Chinese law expanded the capabilities of these bonded zones, allowing e-commerce businesses to freely exchange and trade goods entirely within the warehouse walls. This protocol is known as the Transfer of Rights and Ownership, or TORO. This schematic details how TORO decouples the product from physical movement. Trading partners execute a digital contract transferring ownership on a secure ledger. During this transaction, the actual cargo containers don't move an inch, maintaining their tax-deferred status inside the bonded zone. Physical logistics are entirely bypassed. Thousands of tons of inventory are instantly reassigned to a new owner through data alone. This grants a platform massive opportunistic buying power. If a global brand miscalculates demand and leaves excess stock trapped in a foreign market, the platform can acquire that inventory at a steep discount without paying a cent to physically move it. If 5,000 premium appliances like the LG Styler become bottlenecked in China, a TORO contract secures and distributes them globally from the Weihai hub. Capital remains fluid. The platform holds global assets digitally and deploys them physically only when AI analytics confirm a verified end-user demand. Stripping out domestic warehousing and utilizing TORO yields a baseline cost reduction of 10 to 40%. The platform operates on minimum margin, converting all remaining logistics savings into a direct reward mechanism. This mechanism is point value, or PV. It is a profit-sharing protocol that returns the platform's operational savings to the buyer as direct equity. Every purchase allows the user to capture the specific cash value inherent in the bypassed logistics chain. Because users are actively collecting the platform's logistics savings, they have a direct financial incentive to recruit others. The consumer base scales the network organically. The standard e-commerce customer acquisition cost, which routinely runs between 50,000 and 300,000 won per user, drops to absolute zero. The logistics savings pay for the network's expansion. We can calculate the exact scale of this architecture by applying historical data to the projected user base. This slide defines the ETOT formula, Total revenue equals active members multiplied by conversion rate, average order value, and purchase frequency. Historical data establishes a strict baseline, a 10% conversion rate, 49,001 average order, and 9.3 purchases per year. The PV reward guarantees the high retention and frequency rates, and the Weihai Hub protects the margins. This table applies those constant metrics against the sheer demographic weight of emerging markets. In China alone, the addressable e-commerce base is estimated at 800 million active users. The resulting projection on this chart shows an aggressive, compounded scaling effect. By the 8th year of operation, applying the zero CAC acquisition model to these demographics yields a revenue target of 67 trillion won. Because the inventory is handled virtually via Toro and the marketing is handled virally through PV, the platform scales its revenue exponentially without triggering a proportional explosion in physical overhead costs. The model relies on 3 interconnected pillars. The Weihai Hub intercepts international friction, the Toro protocol virtualizes inventory ownership, and the PV system weaponizes the resulting savings to permanently lock in the consumer. It is an architecture designed specifically to ignore borders, routing goods from the factory floor to the end user's door with mathematical precision. Traditional e-commerce giants will continue to pour billions into fleets of delivery trucks, domestic mega warehouses, and endless marketing campaigns to fight for thin retail margins. The long-term advantage belongs to the platform that engineers a structural bypass for logistical friction, redirecting that wealth directly back to its consumer base.